Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
No.
Fani Willis. Well, I've talked about her in the past. Most recently, I talked about her affair with Nathan Wade, now confirmed. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'll leave a card above. But in this video, I want to discuss the recent court hearing that occurred last week as of this recording with Nathan Wade and Fani Willis talking about their relationship and how money was exchanged. So I'll get to that, but I also want to get into a growing problem with DEI, ESG, and yes, affirmative action, and these women who are put into positions of power who, frankly, in my opinion, don't deserve it. Maybe they have the creds, you know, their JD degree and all that, but let's be honest, they're not very good. let's just, or not be truthful, not honest. They're too greedy. You know, name it. They're corrupt. All the words you want to use to describe them, their behavior, just throw it out there. But this article here, exclusive with Revolver, but this is ZeroHedge. They, you know, kind of trimmed it down a little bit because it was pretty long. But I'm not going to talk about just Fani Willis, but other women in the East Coast who, to me, are a problem. They're a problem because these are women who have power, but they abuse it constantly. And they're, of course, biased. They don't believe in the rule of law. They don't believe in a fair trial. They just want to appease their donors and get as much money as you can without getting caught. Now, before we begin, if you haven't already, please like this video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, comment below and let me know and let others know what you think is going on with this whole Fani Willis situation, or even past Fani Willis. All these corrupt AGs and judges and whatnot in our system today, abusing the system, implementing a two-tier justice system, which is not fair to me or you. I mean, look how many people are in jail right now because of a certain thing that happened at the Capitol a few years ago, and you get where I'm going with this. So this article, DMV America, the regime's Fani Willis problem and ours. And this was posted on Revolver. Again, this is ZeroHedge, but this was posted on Revolver February 21st, 2024. The fantastic fall of Fani Willis is one of great comedies of recent American politics. It's the flagrant corruption of Hunter Biden mixed with the stupidity of Jesse Smollett, the courtroom farce of the George Zimmerman trial, and the sky-high political stakes of a U.S. presidential election. It's the joyous, healthy humor of seeing a wicked, ridiculous person be exposed and get exactly what she deserves. Absolutely. Now, Breaking 911 has some clips here from the trial. I have clips in this video. If you want to skip to that part, timestamps are below. But let's keep it moving. Right now, it still isn't certain whether Judge Scott McAfee will actually kick Fani Willis off her own case. But even if he doesn't, the damage has substantially been done. The tenuous prosecution of President Trump in Georgia has already been badly delayed and discredited, increasing its odds of being tossed by a higher court and the odds of the public simply shrugging its shoulders, even if this abortion of a case somehow lurches all the way to a felony conviction. Left-wing anti-Trump zealots are practically begging Fani to step aside of her own volition for the good of the anti-Trump cause. But they are unlikely to get what they want, for the same reason that this scandal happened in the first place. America's regime elevated a clown show affirmative action incompetent who only cares about herself, told her that she was a big hero simply for existing, and now we are all reaping the consequences. But don't laugh too hard at the left's Fani fiasco, because lurking behind the Fulton County farce is a dark look at an institutional decay in American life that has only just begun. That is right. We're in a situation now, if you look at it, bird's eye view, what's going on, things are getting bad to worse. The FBI is weaponized. They're going after innocent people. They're going after Catholics. Catholics now. You know, people are being prosecuted, just thrown in jail. I mean, for years upon years. You know, I mentioned that incident just a few years ago at a certain location in DC. No real due process, nothing. Just throw them in jail. No chance. Trump now is ordered by this New York judge to pay over $300 million, close to $400 million, because you have to add, you know, the interest and the penalties and all that stuff. $400 million plus. It's ridiculous. I have another video later on about how developers and investors like Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank is reacting to that whole verdict. But let's continue. The American regime is groaning both in public and behind closed doors at the trouble Fani Willis has stirred up for them. But just as Fani deserves her ongoing humiliation, so do all of her enablers. They have asked loudly and proudly for every part of this. After all, Fani Willis is the avatar of DMV America, the combination of racial caste system and kikistocracy that the American regime is determined to erect in what was once the world's proudest meritocratic society. We have, and this is Revolver talking, we have extensively chronicled the decay, rotting of America as it pays for bad decisions made decades ago. We have covered the degradation of America's power grids, its airports, and even its amusement parks. But just as glaring as any physical decay will be the decay in human capital, the disappearance of talented and morally upright people who are replaced by farcical parasites who bask in how useless and entitled they are. And you hear today, you hear about planes falling out of the sky, Boeing planes just failing, crashing, power grids, brownouts. Just recently, our phone system, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, I believe, were affected. People couldn't make phone calls. You heard about in the past, East Palestine. Remember that? The story that no one's talking about anymore? The train derailment, all the chemicals that spilled into that town, that cloud of whatever that was in the sky. Remember that? Remember? Where were the transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, or Pete Buttplug, or whatever his name is? Where was he? Where was Biden? Did he ever go? And if he went, how many times did he go? Remember that? I quickly forget these stories, but I think you remember. You, the viewer. You guys are smart. You remember. Back in the mid-90s, when Willis attended law school, her alma mater at Emory averaged a USA News ranking in the mid-20s, in the top quarter, but also well outside the top 14 that has traditionally designated America's best law schools. And that's frightful, in fact. We can safely guess that Willis was not an above average Emory student, or even the medium one. All of us know the truth. America has for decades run a pervasive race-based affirmative action racket in which students from preferred races get a huge boost to their college admissions. And we all knew the affirmative action racket in college admissions. We all knew this. And recently, the Supreme Court, they ruled that affirmative action is unconstitutional in colleges. But of course, colleges like Harvard are trying to find ways around it. That's the institutes we hold dearly and highly today. The odds that Willis scored below Emory's medium LSTAT, and perhaps well below, are very high. The median black LSTAT score is around 142 points, meaning that any score above 160 represents the top 3% of all test takers. But if Willis was scoring in the top 3%, then frankly, she would have been able to punch a ticket to a top law school like Harvard or Columbia, or hell, at least Georgetown. Going to Emory with the massive admission boost she could count on based on skin color alone indicates Willis's LSTAT score may have been frightful. There are, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of lawyers in America who are smarter and better qualified to be prosecutors in a major American city. But Fani is the one we have. And you know what might be the funniest part? Fani is, in many ways, the cream of the crop. Say what we will about Fani cavorting with her boyfriend. she does at least manage to prosecute some actual criminals. She does go above and beyond when it comes to, actually, I shouldn't say above and beyond. She does go after gangs. If you haven't seen my story about her and YSL and the alleged affair she had with Big Nut Thomas, check out this video. I'll leave a card above. She does go after gangs. I'll say that. That puts her far ahead of recently departed St. Louis, Missouri Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner. During her 6-year run as the top prosecutor in America's deadliest city, Gardner let St. Louis's murder rate balloon to 87 per 100,000, more than double the rate of Johannesburg, and in the top 10 for all of the planet. Admitted to paying for her personal apartment using campaign funds, criminally charged the McCloskeys for brandishing unloaded firearms at a BLM mob, then fundraised off said prosecution in such a glaring manner that a judge kicked her off the case. I do remember that. The BLM mob came into the property. It was a gated community, and the BLM marchers, the Marxists, were, going around their neighborhood. The wife had her gun out. Bitch, she could have learned how to hold it correctly. Okay, I give them that. But keep in mind what was going on back then. A lot of stuff was going down back then, and so who knows what they would have done if they didn't have their gun on hand? Who knows what would have happened? They're protecting their property, protecting themselves. Falsely accused police of pulling her over for no reason as an intimidation tactic, when in fact camera footage showed she was driving without working headlights. Suing her own city under the Ku Klux Klan Act, alleging a vast racist conspiracy against her by the city, government, and police department. Illegally spent 2 years secretly pursuing a nursing degree while still serving as a circuit attorney. Repeatedly had to drop criminal charges against alleged murderers because her office just could not stop screwing up. In Baltimore, former State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby hoped to use the Freddie Gray case to launch her national fame. Instead, her shoddy, politically motivated prosecution of local police sent the signal that Baltimore was a free fire zone, and the city soon became one of the most violent in the world. Then, just as things were getting a bit better, Mosby used COVID as an excuse to get even more lenient on crime. Mosby herself, meanwhile, became known for firing prosecutors she disliked and threw in a dose of mortgage fraud for good measure. That should at least be enough to get her disbarred, sparing Marylanders from further Mosby shenanigans. But who knows? Maybe some lefty judge will rule that disbarring criminals is racist. Yet even Mosby is a model of political service compared to someone like Dalton, Illinois Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who has recently become a minor celebrity for her brazen corruption. Check it out.
Y'all forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor. If y'all ain't learned that yet. The mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth. Y'all don't do no work.
Tiffany Henyard considers herself something of a crusader, but one who's clearly annoyed by questions from a rebellious group of Dalton trustees who are in a standoff with her over spending.
Y'all should be ashamed of y'allself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of y'allself.
A few minutes later.
I handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other
The
questions?
Illinois Attorney General's office now ordering a charity run by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard to stop soliciting donations. The charity, called Tiffany Henyard Cares, failed to register with the Attorney General's office or disclose how much money it raised and how the money is being spent. Fox 32 first raised questions about her charity last year. Our investigation with the Illinois Answers Project found she was using public employees and taxpayer dollars to support the charity, including a $10,000 donation from Thornton Township, where she is supervisor. The AG's office says it is evaluating further action against the charity.
Henyard was first elected in 2021 to lead a small town of 20,000 people, about 20 miles south of downtown Chicago. She has come under scrutiny in recent weeks for a laundry list of antics, including accusations of blowing thousands in public funds on luxury travel and dining, turning local police into her personal bodyguards and backup dancers for music videos, and hiring DJs for town meetings, all while the village falls $5 million into debt. Dalton trustee Kiana Belcher said former Dalton chief of police Robert Collins admitted the mayor forced him to target people. "She'll have the police follow you and give tickets," Belcher said. "I went out of town and she had one of the officers give me tickets. It was a manipulation tactic." When she confronted Collins, Belcher said, "The chief didn't hesitate to blame Henyard. He looked down at me and said, 'She told me to write them,'" Belcher said. Henyard was elected in February 2021, meaning she has now been trashing her city for 3 whole years. Yet despite all accounts being an obvious criminal, she's still in office and still unindicted. Why would that be? Well, because the DA to bring those charges would be Cook County DA Kim Foxx. Yes, that Kim Foxx, the one who tried to let Jussie Smollett off the hook, requiring a special prosecutor to swoop in and save the day. When she wasn't giving favorable treatment to black celebrities, Foxx ordered her minions to avoid cash bail and to only bring felony theft charges against criminals with at least 10 prior felony convictions. So why would we expect Kim Foxx to hold a fellow soul sister accountable? For that matter, why would we expect anyone on the left to do it? The modern left has also wholly abandoned traditional religious faith, but it certainly still has its priests and saints. And a narcissistic message repeated day in and day out is that black women are America's sacred beings. I want to say something real quick here. There's a woman named Shahrazad Ali. Okay. And she was kind of prominent in the 80s. And she would say that every demographic has been checked, male or female, every demographic, except black women. Black women have not been checked. They're just protected. They're just too sacred. They haven't been checked. But she was referring more so in the relationship aspect, black men, black women, the need for a nuclear family. But I would go outside of that and say, in this case, black women still have not been checked when it comes to things like this. We can't hold them accountable in things like what I'm explaining here in this article. Why? Why not? Why not? They haven't been checked, and that's the problem. They think you can get away with it all the time. No accountability. No accountability. Joe Biden ran on a promise to consider black women, and only black women, for his first Supreme Court pick. 93% of Americans need not apply. The result was Ketanji Brown Jackson, who can't say what a woman is, but nevertheless thinks the entire planet should hear every inane thought passing through her head. As soon as Fani Willis's own conduct threw the entire lawfare campaign against Trump, years in the making, into doubt, the ethno-narcissist whining came tumbling out immediately, criticizing a prosecutor for corruptly staffing her loser boyfriend onto a job he wasn't qualified for was racist. Fani Willis's testimony evokes long-standing frustrations for black women leaders. When will we learn to listen to black women? A great way to listen to black women is to elect them. When black women lead, we all win. 10 inspiring leaders show us the way. And we all know Kamala Harris here. I mean, she can barely speak. She's like, it's horrible. One heartbeat away, guys. So this video is basically just to show you not just Fani Willis and her shenanigans. She's just a ridiculous woman, but a broader issue where this country is catering to people who are underqualified for positions they're in. And of course, the corruption and no accountability for what they've done. Who knows what will happen to Fani Willis? She might be tossed from the case. She might not be. She might end up being protected, or she might just get money. She might get money from some undisclosed donor, and she might just go away. Who knows? Who knows? But right now, as it stands, she's still on the case. I think they're going to have another case next week as of this recording, late February, early March, to talk about whether she should still be on the case. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But overall, you see it right here, folks. It's a growing problem. We are propping up people who are not qualified for the position. And I don't care what race you are. I really don't. Are you qualified for the position? And do you have enough moral integrity to do and serve well? That's what I want. In any position, do you have this, not just the knowledge, but the moral integrity to do your job? But obviously, there are people in power who don't. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please stick around to see the highlight reel of Fani Willis's hearing. And if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And with that, enjoy.
Did you listen to any of the arguments?
I did hear the arguments this morning. It's ridiculous to me that you lied on Monday, and yet here we still are. And I did listen to that argument.
You and Mr. Wade met in October 2019 at a conference?
That is correct. I think in one of your motions you tried to implicate I slept with him at that conference, which I find to be extremely offensive.
Ms. Willis, I'll ask you to just listen to the answer, or excuse me, the question, and keep the answers confined to the question as best you can. I think you'll have more than enough ample opportunity on when the state is able to
It's highly
follow
offensive
up.
when someone lies on you, and it's highly offensive when they try to implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them, and I take exception to it.
Thank you.
Merchants' entrance are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
All right, let's
Judge, I would
proceed.
just ask that
We can keep things moving. Ms. Murphy,
Thank you.
next question,
Thank you.
please.
Do you know Robin Yurdy?
I know her as Robin Bryant.
So let's narrow it down, the timeline now. So my questions are going to be from the time period of 2019 until she no longer was employed for you, the last time you all talked. So all of my next questions are just focused on that time frame, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Up until she left your office.
Yes, ma'am.
During 2019, you all were friends, correct?
Yes, we knew each other in 2019.
During 2020, you all were friends, correct?
We were friends during that time period.
During 2021, you all were friends, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And such good friends that when you needed a place to stay, you asked her if you could take over her lease.
That's a lie.
You did
That's
not move into her apartment?
I
or her
did, but
condo?
that's not the way you characterize it. Is wrong.
I asked if you could take over her lease.
I did not ask if I could take over her lease.
Did you move into her apartment?
I moved into her condo in April of 21. The circumstances around that were that Robin met her husband. They wanted to move into another and separate place. She wanted to get rid of her condo. My father was living with me at the house. Because of this case and because of my stance on gangs, my life was being threatened regularly. My father urged me to leave our home. At the same time, as luck would have it, Robin wanted to give up her lease because she wanted to move in with this new man she met, who eventually became her husband. And so, as life circumstances worked, my dad was begging me to leave the house. He was afraid for me, afraid for his grandchildren. She wanted someone to take over her lease so that she didn't, have to pay a fee or get abandoned. And so I don't remember when, but probably March or April of 21, I moved in and take over her lease.
What's the first time you went on vacation with Mr. Wade?
I think the first time we went on vacation was around April of 22, and it's a vacation is a stretch, but I'm trying to be comprehensive. I recall April of 22. His birthday is March the 18th, so that would have been his 49th birthday. I took him to Tennessee for the day. I think we went to a museum. I think we might have stayed the night. I'm not sure, but Tennessee's kind of hard to call a vacation, but I just am trying to be inclusive. For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady.
You would not go to the ATM?
No.
Okay. So Fulton County pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct deposits.
Okay. So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank?
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there.
When you meet my father, he's going to tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black man feels like that, but he does. When we were growing up, my daddy had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I always keep cash in the house. Now, I don't do it to the degree that my father would do it, so he would probably be ashamed with me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket. So if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house, and I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to, because I don't go on many dates. But when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from, if it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. We've had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. When it's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but I'm building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
And you all stayed in Napa Valley, and he paid for the plane tickets and the hotel?
He paid for the plane tickets and the hotel.
And what did you pay for on that trip?
I gave him much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours that you do, which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him. He likes wine. I don't really like wine, to be honest with you. I like Grey Goose. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion.
I do appreciate the characterization.
I'm not going to emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. Did you understand that? But I didn't give it all to him. Remember, I only gave the $2,500 to him.
I didn't ask you that. I was going to ask you that. $4,000 is part of my words, cash hoard that you had collected over time.
Cash what?
Hoard, H-O-R-D-E.
Oh, I thought you said something different, sir.
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't say that. Any circumstances.
Yes, please, give me the time period.
Mr. Wade visited you at the place you laid your head.
When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth, Judge. And it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Willis?
You see.
Mr. Sena, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes.